guys, it's Josh from KDM Tuners. We're going to be doing another video for you guys today. It's been a while. Today we're going to be getting into bushings. So we teamed up with SuperPro out of Australia and USA to start bringing some more bushing kits to the KDM cars. So today they sent us over a kit for the Gen 1 Veloster. Veloster Turbo, pretty much any older generation vehicle with a torsion beam, these are going to be for that car. So today we're going to be doing the rear beam bushings. Nobody's done these on these cars yet, and I think SuperPro is the only one that makes them. So we're going to have to pull out the whole beam out of the back of the car, press the old bushings out, put the new ones in, and show you how that goes. The kit also comes with the front control arm bushings, and we're trying to get all that done in one day. If not, we'll do a part 1, part 2. Right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and say this install is not for the faint of heart. So if you do buy these bushing kits, it's probably wise to have a professional install them. It might take them only a couple hours at a shop. This could take you a whole day at home. So anyone in the industry that knows that have done bushings, it's a complete nightmare most of the time. So we're going to kind of go through it and show you our struggles and what we come up with and how to do it. And hopefully that helps you guys. So with that said, let's get into this video. It's going to be a long one, so like all of our videos, and hope you enjoy it. And yeah, let's roll. All right, so we're going to open this box up. Oops, sorry. So, all right, we got our bushing kit, or as Australians like to call it, our bush kit. Cut this open, see what we got in here. Alright, so these look like they're going to be the rear bush kits. Some massive suckers. Our front control arm bushings. And the rear dual caster adjustment bushings. So let's go ahead and open these up and see what they look like. Let's get this open. Give you some grease with each bushing kit. So they actually labeled outside, inside on these, so that's pretty cool. And then some massive centers. That's a serious kit right there. All right, let's open up the twin. This is a double offset, they call it. So the way these work, we'll have to lube them up, but these go in the centers there. It goes on the bottom and top like this. So it'll put offset on there. This is for caster adjustment, and we'll go over that when we get to that. So those are nice. And if you guys want these bushings just by themselves or individuals, we have all this up on our website. So these are going to be your front control arm bushings, also with grease. So pretty cool little kit. This is the kit. It's labeled kit 182K, and this is also listed on our website. And we'll give you all the part numbers in the description for this whole kit if you want to buy it separate or all together as a kit, so you guys can do that. So, but for now, let's get all these out of the way. And this is what we're focusing on first. Alright guys, so this is just a brief instructions that come with the kit itself. It says it's for a Santa Fe or a Kia Sorento. It's the same kit. All the old school Veloster stuff is going to use a 66mm bush kit. The newer cars like the Elantra Sports, the i30Ns, the Veloster Ns, the new 2019 R-Specs and such will use a 70mm kit. We have those all labeled, so you guys don't even have to think about that. You just pick the car that you need, and we got it. But what I wanted to show you real quick was the installation deal. These are our double offsets, so there's different ways to set this up. In theory, is if you have like a car that pulls like slightly to the left when you drive it or get on the gas, you can actually set these caster bushings up to correct for each one of those. So if you have like a strong pull left, you can set them like a double offset going one way only. You can get a single offset if it pulls slightly to the left. If it has no caster, you don't want to make any changes, you just want a stiffer ride, you go ahead and get like a standard replacement kit, so they're just center. Performance-wise, on all the track stuff we do, we pitch them inward. So this is going to be your performance setting. So you pitch them inward, and you're going to push both the control arms out. So it's going to push them out, which effectively pushes the caster, which is the angle of the strut, forward. So, and we'll show all that later, but I just want to go over that real quick. And this is what they give you in the kit. So, moving forward. All right, so next step that we're gonna do in this process, we've taken a couple of these beams out. We're gonna leave the top nut of the strut on. We're gonna take off the lower nut on the strut when we get underneath, but we wanna make this beam as light as possible. I don't know how heavy it is, but I'm guessing it's like 100 pounds. It's pretty heavy. So we wanna take the rotors off, we can take the calipers off, we gotta disconnect all the brakes from this and probably even take the hubs off just to make it a little bit lighter, but that's what we're doing now. This is our dead blow hammer. You guys have seen me use this on a video prior. There we go. Break that one loose. So we're going to set this aside for now. And then we'll break this one loose. Save that for the next side there. We're going to take this caliper off, and I believe it's a 12. It goes on the back. It's going to be, it's a 14. So it's the bracket that holds the caliper on there. It's kind of hard to see, but when you get in there, it's just a 14 millimeter that holds these brackets. So we're going to go left, which is down, and let's give it a. These usually aren't too tight. I like to loosen the top one quite a bit first, and we'll jump to the bottom and loosen the bottom one. If you just feel around in there. You know, when you pull these off, technically you want to hang these from something. You don't want it to hang off the brake line. So I don't know if these will reach all the way down, but we might have to bungee cord them up somewhere. And if you guys are using the rear camber kit that we sell from Pierce Motorsports, you're going to have these little spacers that go into the calipers. Don't lose these, because you're going to want to put those back in. So we'll go ahead and remove that. Oh, so the e-brake's on. I'm going to turn the e-brake off real quick. Got the e-brake situation handled, so I just got to get this caliper off the rotor. And actually, this one's lucky enough we have that brake cable, but we're still going to go ahead and what we're going to do is actually use the rear tow hook on this one. Oh, that won't work. That way we can just not worry about this hanging down and ruining any brake lines or anything. And then there's a little 10 millimeter or 12 millimeter nut there, I believe it is. Yep, we gotta take that off. That's connected to the trailing arm or the torsion beam. This is also for the e-brake. Okay, and then I'll put this back in the hole so we don't lose the bolt there. All right, and then we can go ahead and take this rotor off, get this out of the way. I like to put the rotor right here, and then we'll get all of our nuts and bolts inside the rotor so we don't lose it. Okay, all right, so one thing you guys can do, so you could probably leave the hub on if you want, but we're gonna try to lighten this as much as we can. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. This is a 12 millimeter. All right, from this step forward on these, if you don't have a camber kit on here, don't worry about it, but if you have a camber kit on it, at this point, we have to be very careful of how the orientation is on those shims. So when you pull it off very gingerly. Put your hand on it, make sure it doesn't move. But when they install these kits, there's two little alignment dowels right here, and most of these will have a hole drilled in them, so it's gonna sit like that. Try not to move that. See the holes here? It'll go on the alignment dowels. Try not to move those holes at all because this is your alignment setup. So set this in a place that it's not gonna move. All right, now that we have that off, what we need to do is get this is the wheel speed sensor off. We're gonna disconnect these. You just pull them up with both hands. There you go. And then we're gonna remove that with a 10 millimeter out of the hub there. Okay, we'll get this off. Probably be using power tools for all this, but it's okay. All right, and then same thing with these. You could probably just let this dangle down for now. Maybe wrap it around this so it doesn't hit the floor. And then I like to put this right back there so we don't lose it. All right, so this side is all ready to go. And then when we pull this out, we're gonna have to swing this out of the way. So we'll deal with that when we get to that point. Well, let's jump to the other side and do the same thing all over again. All right, so we got to the outside edges done. What we're gonna do is we're gonna remove, I don't know if you can see these two nuts on the lower shock mount. With this bar on here that he's got, it's actually gonna be kind of rough now that I think about it, because we have to take the whole bar off to get the bolt out. There's no way we're going to be able to swing that off. So I changed my mind on our approach on this. What we're going to do is we're going to take the top nut, the top bolt out of the shock. So what we did is we put the jack under here to support the beam so it won't move. We can either just give it a little pump. We don't want to lift it too much to bring it up off of our jack stands, but enough to put some pressure on it. And we're going to rip those top bolts out of the wheel wells. So follow me up there and then we'll show you. So we got our trusty impact here. This is going to be a 19 millimeter. Normally I do this by hand. It should be torqued down to about 85 to 90 pounds. So we're going to pull these off on both sides here. There must be some weight on this thing. Well, it doesn't work if you don't have a socket on there. Let's see what's going on by hand, why this is. So what I'm doing is I'm using my fingers here to pull and twist. go. This one was had a little weight on it still from, we could have jacked up the center beam a little bit more, but that's your bolt there. When we put these back in, we're going to throw some lube on there. So keep that with your stuff, and then let's hop to the other side. All right, so let's get this one off. So basically there's load still on the threads there, on the bolt, so you can just literally pull it up with your arm and pull it out. So we got that. Now we're gonna lower the beam down a little bit just to get everything out of the way, get the lines from the calipers on top of the beam, and so get the springs out of the way. We'll probably jack it up to level again, and then we'll pop the bolts out that hold the whole beam together, and then lower it all down together in one piece. The ones I've done in the past, usually we have it down at an angle like this, and you gotta wiggle it a couple times to get the whole thing to drop out. So it's kind of a bitch, but you'll see. Okay, while we're doing this, what we gotta do is swing these lines out of the way as much as we can. Okay, that'll work. I'm gonna jump over here. All right, so what we did there was put the e-brake line on top of the cross member, and we're gonna go ahead and lower this down enough to get the springs out. And at this point, that's one way to do it. Get this other one out of here. That's the right way to do it. All right, so we got the springs out. Really, we can get the impact and pull those struts off completely so they're out of the way, so we don't damage them. So I think that's what we're gonna do. So let me grab it. We'll go ahead and put the nut on here just so we don't lose it. Okay, and we'll jump on over to the other side. Alright guys, so we got the beam out of the car, and lucky enough, our little Harbor Freight press that we have here, at the angle that AJ's holding it right now, fits perfectly in the press to press this thing out. So it should be easy to get out of here. As long as the Harbor Freight press doesn't break, I think we'll be alright. So stay tuned. Put a little soft landing in here. Okay. So I'm gonna have to swing on this side of you.
I was wondering if you're on the full side. Lifting.
That's alright. There's no way to prevent that, so we'll just have to see if it comes out that way. There's no way to prop up the rear. Maybe stand on the back. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I see that. I see what's going on here. I have to readjust. Hold on to it. So we need to try a bigger disc. Murder. Let's see if that works. you think it's in? The other one's in? All right, so we got the bushing out. Wasn't easy. If you guys have the opportunity to take this to a shop, please do. If they have a hydraulic press or something like that, it's probably a lot easier. The problem is when you put the thing in the press, the way they put the bushing in there on the OEM, there's no way to support the backside. So as you press it down, it wants to sink in and the whole thing lifts up. So it's super hard. I mean, we had to use an air hammer, we had to use a torch, we had to use the press, and we just keep repeating the steps until we got it out. But we got one out, so we'll go through and get the other one out, doing the same thing, and then we'll get the other bushings in there and show you that. So to be continued, or shall we say, we will continue. As you guys can see, that's your stock bushing. It's just filled with holes. And see all the holes in there? It has a lot of room to flex in here versus the other bushing kit that we're going to be using. I mean, can't see through it because there's no holes. It's solid urethane, so it's going to be a huge difference in the way the car handles after this, so should be quite impressive. So let's go ahead and get this prepped up and ready to put on. Okay, so installing these is rather easy. There's a couple things to talk about, I guess, is they come with lube. Typically when I put bushings in, I don't lube the bushing that's going in. I just lube the inside where the metal's inside here, and then possibly lube where the bolt goes through the little metal guy here to save any sounds. I'm not going to put bushing. I mean, you could put lube on the outside of this bushing if you want to. I don't think we're going to do that on this. I don't really see a need to do that. I don't really think it's going to create a creak in there. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do here, because on every other car I've ever installed, I've never put lube on the part that you're pressing in. I just never have. I just always use it on the inside. So I think I'm just going to do it the way I've always done it. So if I'm doing it wrong, oh well. Just if you guys know differently and you want to use lube on this, that's up to you. There's plenty of it in here to do that, but we're not going to do that. So anyways, there's on these, there's an outside and an inside. They're labeled clearly right around the edge right here. You're definitely not gonna be able to see that right now, but it'll tell you which way they go. Outside, obviously the outside of the car. The side that has a little lip right here, the indentation, is on the inside. So really, you just get them in there. You can give them a little it's that easy putting them back in. All right, so this part here is where we'll get the lube. Actually, what we'll do, let's just put them both in on both sides. That way when we get dirty with the lube, we only have to do a glove change once. So again, this one says inside. This one says outside. Let me clean this out. When you guys go to put the centers in, one side's gonna pop out again, so you're gonna have to hit them in. But all right, that's the bushing on there. Go ahead and tear this open. I just like to get a nice amount on there, and then just smear it all over.
Healthy amount of lube.
Healthy amount of lube, as always, fellas and ladies. Doesn't matter who's installing it. Just always use lube on everything. Almost everything. Okay. Now I don't think it matters which way you put it in, whether you put it from this side or the other side. And you can get this and give it a little. Okay. And then we can just rub some of this lube around here, so when we put it back in, it'll slide right in. So the only bummer about this lube is it will create a lot of dirt. So just put a fine little layer on there just to cover it, okay? Now let's go ahead and put this on the other side here. Again, good amount of lube. Okay. And just smear it around. Realistically, this is like a lithium-based lube, I'm guessing. But I bet you can use high school jelly on this too. If you don't have any of this stuff, just go get some high school jelly and then put that on. If you guys haven't caught our older videos and know what high school jelly is, it's Vaseline. Got it? Around the outside edge there, around the rimage. Not too much though to make a mess, and we'll get a nice little smear on this side. And that's it. Just give this a nice little bash around, make sure it didn't pop out. And that's how you install the SuperPro rear bushing kit or bush kit on a rear torsion beam. So now all we gotta do is put this back in the car, button up everything that we took apart, the brakes and suspension, and move to the front. Do the front two control arms in the bushing kit and call it a day. So let's get this back in the car. Hey guys, so we got the rear end done as you saw earlier, and we'll see more of that on the summary. We'll have a little summary ending of the video. We stopped to go get some burritos and we ate. Now we're full. The light is gone, so we're going to finish this video in the dark. We're going to put the front control arm bushings in now. So yeah, that's it. So it's dark outside and we're going to finish the front. So let's go. All right, so first up, we're going to get this off. This is the hardest part of the whole job, besides maybe pressing some of these bearings out, but this is the hardest part. We have to get this ball joint removed. So it's a 19 millimeter here. So this usually isn't very tight. So we'll go ahead and get this off. This one has a little bit of Rust-Oleum on there. Yes, I know it's called rust. I'm just being goofy. I gotta get my dad jokes in this video. And nuts are hot. Oh. Okay. So we got that off. A lot of times I like to leave the nut on. Get some of this threads came off there. Still good though. So what I do, sometimes I'll leave the nut on there for this next step, but we'll see if we can do it without. So what we're going to do is this tool here, if you guys don't have one, this is a bet tool, I guess is the name of this. It's just a cheap deal. I'm going to actually have to modify it and cut some out here to work better on these cars, but basically it just slides in here. I'm going to try to be careful not to rip the boot. His boot's already ripped a little bit, so the idea is you got to get it, this top piece here on top of the top nut, and this wedge is underneath. Let's see if we can get that. This one's not on there very well, so it'll probably pop right off, but it's right on the edge there. I'll be surprised if this makes it, but it might pop off, so just be careful. We're gonna keep going. And when this does go, it'll be a rather violent release, so sometimes if you give it a little whack with a mallet, I'm gonna have to get a real mallet for that, but let's see if we can just get it like this. That's pretty tight. Let me grab a mallet. We're gonna hit it right here with a mallet. There it goes. How about them apples? All right, so we got that loose. Now we're just gonna have to get 2 nuts off this. We're gonna get one here. This is a 17 millimeter. It should be on there about 85 pounds. So don't use an impact on these. I have seen the nuts on the back side of these break off. So do this one by hand. And then the one underneath is gonna be way under here. I don't remember what size that is. I want to say it's a 19. We'll use an impact to get that off. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to get my stuff together to get that off. Okay, crawl under the car here into the bright lights. So what I'll do is get this one off first, and then I want this to go down. See if I can get enough leverage. That one was a little bit on the loose side. Quicker wrench here. Okay, now that you got this one loose by hand, what we'll do, we're gonna loosen both sides. We'll just take this whole bar off. So all right, now that it's loose, we can get an impact on there to speed this up, but never to loosen it. Okay. Okay, we can just drop that down, save that. Next up, oh no, just to get this lower bolt off here. And that one is a 19, but this one should be at 100. I think it's 120 pounds, so it might be hard to get off if you don't have an impact, but let's see what it does. I think there's a nut on top, if I recall now. that's a 17, but alright. There we go. It's a 19 with a 19mm nut. Oh. There it is. Got it. And then to get this out, it's rather easy. Just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then get this front portion out. And then sometimes you gotta sway this out of the way. And wiggle this out as well. It's actually easier to do outside of the end of the car, so let me get out. Okay. Sometimes you can use a little pry bar to get it out if you have to, but usually I just pull it out. There you go. All right, let's go press these out. All right, real quick. We're gonna use the regular press to press this out. And on these bushings, I don't like pressing them out this direction, because when you flip these over, you'll see how that has that lip flange around the outside. If you press it out the opposite way, going this way, you tend to want to widen this hole, right? So the easiest thing for that bushing to do when it comes out is that area is going to flare out as you push it out. So what I like to do is press it down this way to where it's pressing straight down into the flange. So if anything, the pressure on the flange is going to be pushing it in. So that way when you go to push the other bearing in or bushing in, it'll be a nice snug press fit. I've done a couple of these the other way, and that's how I know not to do it that way. I flared the hole out a little bit. One bearing bushing was almost like I could just push it in by hand, so I had to do a few little stitch welds around to hold it in. That's currently on my car now. I race it that way. It's not a problem. It's just not ideal for someone to just install it on their car to have to deal with welding and all that stuff. So you shouldn't have to do that if you press it the right direction. This bushing here, I want to say because of the angle that it was at, it was impossible to get this onto the press. So we're going to use another tool that I have here. It basically puts a bucket on one end and it just screw type deal, and it pushes it out. It's just rubber all the way through, so there's no like metal housing or anything. So let's just get this out. It should be rather quick, so let's do that. All right, so let's get this started here. We might have to adjust this a couple times to get it right, but for the most part, yeah, that's not gonna work. So I gotta get one more thing while you look at this in amazement. Okay. The tool that we're gonna use later on the other bushing, you can use to do this as well. But I have a press, so I utilize it as much as I can. Because why not? I don't know why this is so taut. Let me find another. So again, we'll do this. A lot of people will probably look at this and be like, oh my God, he's gonna kill himself. Maybe, maybe not. But this should be fine. As long as everything goes straight down. You just keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't get all out of whack here. Everything seems to be going good. Let's give it some pressure. that's that. Okay. Just clean up the inside of this. And then what we're gonna do is pressing this back in. You could go this way. You can also go this way with it now. But see how it's all weird to manage here? I think we'll just press it in the way we press it out. So the alignment on these, the control arm is going to sit like this in the car. So the way that these are, the way that these are oriented is you'll see that the bushing has an offset hole. The offset hole, you want it to face in. But you gotta be careful with the orientation, because if you set it like this, you're gonna be, and then you try to set it straight in line with this thing, with this arm, you're gonna be wildly off, because it actually sits in the car like this. So you want that bushing to sit parallel with this front bushing, if that makes any sense. So the angle of this and the angle of this, we want the same. So in order to achieve that, you can mark it, you can eyeball it, but just know when you're holding it this way, you want it to sit like that, okay? So that right there is where we want this. And then to press this in, oh, we talked about it. I made a mistake. We're gonna do it this way again. So again, same thing. Want to make sure that that bushing is going to sit parallel with how we have this set up, which is going to be right there. Okay, I'll put that back on there. And then what we do usually is try to get it a 50-50 press. So I like to get it 50% of this bushing down, 50% of the bushing up. Might not fit that in there, so what we're gonna have to do is just press it the way it is. So we'll just crank it down. Okay, might start off a little funky here, but once it gets going, it should press right in. Tighten it down a little bit. There we go. And in she goes. Now you can press it in the opposite way, but again, you'll start flaring that hole out. So I like to get it in this way. It's nice and snug. So we'll just get it right in there about right there, and we'll check it out. So it's nice and tight in there now. Look at it that way. Our center line's a little bit off. See that? I'm supposed to sit like that, so we're a little bit off. So we'll press it out and do it again. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to find our center line here and what we want our center line to be. So we know that it sits in there like this, right? And we want our center line right here. Okay, Now what we'll do this time is let's see if we can set this up here. Let's transfer the line all the way to the back side. Okay. That's right. That's where we want our center line. Okay, then we'll tip it over. Describe the center line right here on that side so we know where our center line is. And then when we put this bushing in this time, we know we can line up that center line with that center line. Okay, put it back in. Going in a little crooked, so we'll readjust. I'll check that location there. Looks good there. Looks perfect there. So that's that bushing. And then when we install these get a bushing pin that goes right through the center of this that we'll lube up and put in there, and then we get these little donuts that go on top, so it'll sit like that. So we'll do that in the end. So let's get this one out now. That's the one we're going to work on next. Okay, so on this one, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take this guy here, and this is going to press right on the pin. But what we need to do is we're going to have this that goes over the end of this, just like that, like a cup. So it's going to press right into the cup. In order to get a place for this to sit, we might need this cap, we might not. So let's just open this up. It's been a few years since I've done this. So let's see what we got here. This takes a little bit of practice getting it lined up, but okay, that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is just get a ratchet on this. I don't recall if that's a 22 or what size that was, but I'm guessing it's a 22. Yep, 22. So let me get a big wrench and we'll get on that. As you can see, you're just pushing the pin out from the center and the rubber will follow. Yeah, the rubber piece is starting to press into the chamber now. Okay, there it goes. And if you want, you can make sure you're wearing Astro approved flip-flops for this. Safety first, gentlemen. Don't mess around, okay? I don't want you guys to lose a foot or something. Okay. Now another thing you guys can do, which is awesome, is just get an impact on this, make this faster. I like to do that portion by hand, just so I don't break anything. That's your stock bushing, or bush, you want to call it. So we don't need this anymore. These are relatively good. I don't see these flexing too much, but I mean, polyurethane, if you're going to go poly, go poly. here's the OEM bushing. You can see what happens is this car has about what 50,000, 60,000 miles, 61,000. See how it's starting to crack around the edges and stuff. I would say most of these cars, even on this side, you can see the stress cracks. This is just from age. The older the car gets, the more those cracks will go. The cars that are around 100,000 miles, I see cracks going all the way across, and you can literally move these around by hand. It makes the car sloppy. So every car I buy, whether it's brand new off the lot or something I buy used, the first thing I do is replace all the bushings in the car. From my Honda days to now, I've always done that. So Honda stuff, I always used energy suspension products. It's just one thing I do within like the first few weeks of buying a car is I change out all my bushings. So since SuperPro came out with all these bushing kits for the Hyundais and the Kias, it's been great, and we're going through every one of our cars and putting these on. So my race car, I have spherical bushings in the control arms on this big bushing. The front bushing, I end up using a white line, but I'll probably just leave those because these bushings in the front, white line to SuperPro's about the same. It's already in there, you won't feel a difference. The rear bushings that you saw us do earlier in the video, we're going to end up doing to my race car. Those weren't available until recently, so I think everybody should have those bushings. Probably one of the best things I've seen in a while. The Elantra Sport. I mean, that car, I bought it with 15,000 miles on it. I think I have 30,000 miles on it now. I just got the bushing kit for those two. We're going to change every bushing on that car as well. It's a brand new car, but it still makes such a huge difference. So anyways, let's put this other bushing in this control arm real quick so you can see how easy that one is. So here's our bushing. They're the same part number. It doesn't matter what side it goes on. I always just check, make sure you get all anything weird that's lumped in there out. And just push one in, put the other one on the other side, and you can just literally push them in by hand like that, okay? And just like we did, all right, sorry, I had to get new gloves there. All right, so just like we did on the backs, I don't put the lube on the inside from the bushing housing to this guy. I guess, I don't know why, I just don't want to, but really I think I don't want to lube. I want this not to move, so I don't want to lube it, in my opinion. I could be wrong, I don't know. But on this pin, just get a liberal amount of lube on there. Okay. And then you just pick a side, you're going to push it in. When you get to the other side, sometimes it's hard to push in. You might want to get like a mallet or something, but usually you can just push it in by hand, just like that. And then we're going to rub a little bit of lube like this on this side, and a little bit of lube on this side. Okay, so we got to push this in there. There we go. So, there's your bushing kits. So let's go ahead and we'll lube this one up while I got the lube out. Get that done with, and then we'll get these back on the car. And all in all, this is very easy to do on the fronts. The rear was a challenge. The fronts are very easy. I want to say from the time that we started it till now, I don't know what it looks like filming wise, but I mean, amount of work if we weren't filming, I mean, maybe 30 minutes to pull that off the car, push these bushings in and out. It was not that challenging. You have the right stuff to do it, so. Okay, these ones are going to be a little bit challenging to get in there. There we go. It's like that center line there is a little bit of a challenge to pop that sucker in there. All right, lube. Just a nice film of lube around this section here where this bush is going to go. Because any of these bushings rubbing together, I don't know if it's going to make a creak. We'll put a little bit of lube there. You don't want to go overboard on the lube because it's going to collect dirt and shit. Okay, this is the underside of this. So we're going to get a little, just have enough lube on my glove to make that work. Move this guy up. Push this on. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. SuperPro bushing kit. Pretty snazzy, huh? So let's go put this back on the car, and then we'll get to the other side and get this thing over with. All right, so getting this in could be tricky at times, so let's see how we're gonna go. We wanna get this rear one in if we can first. You're probably gonna have to pull this out of the way. You just wiggle it back and forth, and then you can get a mallet in there. Alright, and then we're going to push this bushing in the front. And sometimes I like to get a mallet right on the end of this. See it going there? You can see it in the hole that it's starting to go. So this is going to be a super snug fit, but what we're going to do is put this bolt in first, just so we don't lose anything. We want to get the alignment good. It's not quite there, so let's give it a couple pounds here. Down that hole and see where we're at there. We got to get this to move over. So without ruining that, what I like to do is you can get like a screwdriver and pull it. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's see what we did there. It's closer. I gotta get a smaller screwdriver. Tricky here to get that lined up. So what we're gonna do is get a mallet and hit the end of it a little bit harder. What we'll do for now is get this back end lined up. Get that bolt in there so that at least that doesn't move on us. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, we got that. All right, let me get this set up so I can hit this in. We're almost there. It's like see if we can pry this sucker over here. The poly bushings, it's a snug fit in there, so they don't wiggle around at all like the OEM bushings do. So it's kind of hard to get them in there. Give it a whack on the end here. There you go. That went in a little bit too far, but now it's easier to pull it out than it is to push it in. Because now, you just get the screwdriver in there. We might have went too far, gentlemen. Give this a little love tap. Take a look. Okay. Now we'll get the 17 on here. It's a 22. All right, let's see if we can catch the threads on here. There we go. We know that that's in there now, so we'll leave that there. We're going to connect this side over here first, and then we're going to tighten this. Well, actually what we want to do is tighten that rear up first. So let's get this out of the way. We want this no pressure on it at all when we tighten that up. So let's get this, our wrench up in here to hold that top nut. Okay, there you go. And then this is a 19. Now that's very tight in there. And now we're gonna get this front spindle back on our ball joint. And then I'll suck that up in there when we put the nut on. Now this whole angle of everything is going to change because of the caster. So as we get this thing on here, it's going to be kind of a challenge. Okay. Hopefully we're not spinning the spindle there. Yep, we are. Okay, let's get the, there we go. hard part of this too sometimes is when you get these spindles out, to get them tight in there again without spinning that spindle is a little bit rough. What I'm going to try to do is put a jack under there, because what's happening is the spindle is spinning. On newer nuts and newer spindles, this isn't an issue, but when you get an old one, it can be an issue. Spinning. I'm gonna go see if I can find another castle nut for this. Ladies and gentlemen, I had to retap this nut. Saw better days, so put some new threads on her, and that hopefully will go on. We'll see. Got it. Just get it as tight as we can get it by hand, and that's it. That's all that lower spindle gets. If you want to get technical on the torque rating, just get it on there, give it a couple whacks. That's it. And there you have it. SuperPro bushings installed on one side. We'll put the tie bar back in when we're done with the other side. So we're just gonna do exactly the same thing on the other side as we did on this side. So we don't really need to show you the exact details of how we did that. So we're just going to put the camera down, get to action, get the other side done, buttoned up, and get out of here. So just enjoy the interlude. Sped up video, something like that. Just watch. Alright guys, that'll do it for this video for the SuperPro bushing kit. It's the kit 182K from SuperPro. All in all, it was not as bad as we thought it was going to be. The rear bushings on the Veloster on the torsion beam, the first one was a nightmare. The second one wasn't actually that bad once we figured out what we're doing. Like we said earlier in the video, you're definitely going to need a buddy to help you with that. If you can afford to have a shop do it, you might want to just do with that. We talked it over and we were thinking if it was a shop, you know, maybe a 3-hour ordeal for them to do that. So you're looking at 3 hours maybe, and then whatever the labor charges for them at $100 or $120 an hour. Or you can do it with a buddy. I don't know how you would do it without a press. There's probably a way to do it, but I don't know if we have anything that's strong enough to do it without a press. It was pretty rough. So, so about 3-hour job on that. The fronts are super easy. You do not need a press to do that. You can just go. We'll put the kit in the description for you guys, but you could just use a kit to get those bushings out, and it's all by hand. Just ratchet and cups is basically what it is. I think it's a wheel bearing removal tool or something like that. I don't know. That really took like 30 minutes per side. I mean, if that, it's really quick to do that. So we'll link all the tools that we used down, specialty tools that helped us, like the ball joint popper. That is definitely something you guys are going to want to get. Not expensive at all. Yeah, so those were super easy. When you guys are doing these bushing kits, no matter what you do, anytime you take apart your suspension like that, you're going to have to get it aligned. So, you know, whether it's like Firestone or Big O tires or wherever you get your alignment done, you're going to want to go get your alignment done. And then, yeah, I guess you could tell them what you want the settings to, but just take it over there and have a look at it. Just make sure everything's good. As you pull the caster out, you're kind of, you know, you're pulling the arms out, pushes the caster the caster forward a little bit, the shocks out forward a little bit, and pushing that out. I want to say it toes in the wheels by doing that. I can't remember if it's toe in, toe out. I get confused on that. But it does move. The toe moves, the camber moves, everything moves on it. So please do yourself a favor. It might feel perfectly fine when you start driving it, but get an alignment. So other than that, I really don't have anything else to go off of that. If you guys want to buy the kit or interested, you know, check us out. We'll put a link as well. And we'll put some other videos up and stuff of the SuperPro line for you guys. But very good quality stuff. You guys will love how the car feels after it. It's a night and day difference on the way the handling is. So last thing real quick is if your cars are getting up to like that 80,000, 100,000 miles, your bushings are going to be worn out. So once you start getting up in that range, you're going to want to start thinking about replacing all your bushings in your car. It'll probably be the best investment you ever make on your car if you plan to keep it. So just keep that in mind. They're not cheap. So bushings are kind of expensive. To buy them, they're relatively cheap. To install them, they can get expensive. So just keep that in mind. But if you guys have any questions at all or need help installing them, please let us know. And like always, if you like our videos and want to see more, just subscribe, comment, let us know if you like it, don't like it, you like the music, you hate the music, whatever it is. We read all the comments. We like the feedback. So we appreciate you guys, and thanks for watching again, and we'll have another video coming up pretty shortly this time. So until then, you guys take care. Thank you. Peace out.